It's 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stores are watching this Thursday, March 13. Former President Duterte is now at the International Criminal Court Detention Center in Scheveningen in the Netherlands following his arrest on March 11. He's expected to appear before a judge in the coming days where the allegations against him will be formally read. Meantime, his daughter, VP Sara Duterte, also arrived in The Hague today to visit him.
Representative Paulo Pulong Duterte has filed a petition with the Supreme Court to stop the government's cooperation with Interpol and the ICC. He also requested a temporary restraining order and a writ of preliminary injunction to bring his father back to Davao. So far, 4 petitions have been filed with the Supreme Court regarding this issue, and one petition filed by lawyer Israelito Torion has already been denied due to lack of basis. Senator Bongo and Congressman Erwin Tulfo topped the latest Pulse Asia survey for the May 12 polls. So Go has 58.1% voter preference, while Tulfo has 56.6%. And most of the candidates who made it to the top 12 are affiliated with the administration's Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas slate.
And the COMELEC has dismissed a second disqualification petition against Congressman Erwin Tulfo due to petitioner's failure to prove that he received a copy. The petition cited this past libel conviction, U.S. citizenship issues, and alleged violation of the political dynasty ban in the Constitution. The poll body first dismissed the petition, accusing the 4 Tulfos of being a political dynasty. And joining us today via Zoom, Storycon's resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas. Well, he will be here in a while. He's, by the way, on the way to Bataan ba?
Dagupan.
Dagupan to, again, meet with bishops.
To give a talk.
You notice the bishops like to call in sinners.
Yun ba yun? That's how you would classify Ronald? Kasi sinner. Lahat naman tayo sinner. To be fair.
Some lang to greater degrees than others. Okay. Ito, sinner ba to? From the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Ay,
Hi,
wala
Ami.
pa.
Hi.
Wala pa. Wala pang load.
Nandiyan na. We can hear her.
Bakit
Oh, just
nawala
off
yung
cam.
ano ko?
Okay, sige. Ami, we'll see you in a bit. I think your camera's still off. But Ami's already joining us at least with her audio. So yun, we're still
Ayan
waiting
na.
for 1 sinner and 1 penitent.
Si Ami penitent, but si Ronald sinner.
Sinner.
But we're all sinners, remember?
Okay. I got that.
Okay, still following this developing story over Duterte at The Hague. Kakatapos lang ng palace press conference. We found out a lot of things from that press conference. This is with Yusek Claire Castro and
Nicolas Torre.
CIDG Director
Chief,
General,
PNP
Chief pala of
yeah.
General Nicolas Torre and PNP Chief Spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo, tsaka si Yusek,
Claire Castro.
hindi, yung isa pa, si
sino ba?
Yusek, was it Nikki? Sorry,
Sorry, di ko nakita.
his name escapes me, but in any case, marami tayong natutunan doon. General Torres said, I don't find joy in these challenging jobs, because he was being asked if what he felt like during the whole ordeal. And he said,
You saw the video clips? Ang daming kumanta video clips after the former president left.
Yeah.
Yung dun sa lounge ng 250th Airlift Wing ng Presidential Guards. Ang daming video kung saan nagsisigawan sila doon. You'd have Torre raising his voice. You'd also have the former president saying, I will die first before I get on that plane. Mga ganun. Tapos kinakaladkad si Medialdea.
Yun na nga, I didn't realize that until after the fact that they actually arrested ES Medialdea. He was read his rights, sabi ni Torre. He was read his rights. And pinosasan siya at some point.
And the whole time I was looking forward, they put the pizza.
Yung pizza ni Senator Bongo. But
ikaw, nakita mo doon.
Hi.
Ayun, Ami sir
Happy
na.
Thursday.
Happy Thursday. There's Ami
Happy
Pamintuan.
Thursday.
But we were just talking about
The briefing.
the Palace press conference just now, which ended a few minutes ago. Marami tayong natutunan from there, especially the part about E.S. Medjaldea being arrested at some point. Sabi ni General Torre that the whole ordeal took 12 hours daw.
Yeah.
And that's why they can confidently say na they exercise maximum tolerance in the arrest of Duterte.
Gusto ko makita yung video. Pinalo daw ni Hanilet yung
May
yung
video
isang
ba?
pulis.
We saw the photos of
Sabi-
the policewoman
Papailan daw siya ng
kung
kaso
ano.
eh.
Oo, tinulak daw, Ami. Tinulak daw.
Oo, papailan daw siya. Pinalo daw.
Oo.
Pinalo.
Pero may video ba yun?
Merong
Kasi
video.
we saw the
Nawala na
photos
naman.
yung
Yes.
yung
Yung bukol.
ukol eh.
Yes.
Tingnan mo nga yung video. I-click mo yung video yan.
Meron ka dyan? Talaga naman ang Philippine Star, oh. Papakita mo
Ay,
sa
teka
video.
muna, hindi
ikaw
makakuha.
naman
Teka.
nawala.
Teka.
Okay, sige. Subukan ni Ami ilabas ang video. Pero a lot of color from that day, di ba?
Yes.
And we didn't know that all these things were happening because
Because we were only getting snippets
yeah.
from Kitty Duterte.
we were just seeing
Oo.
and basically we were just seeing the drama outside the Villamor Air Base gates.
The other thing that General Torres said was actually marami silang pinapasok ng medical professionals. So the PNP doctor was there, the Duterte's personal doctor was there, the chief doctor of Villamor Air Base was there, and a whole host of nurses. So he was basically General Torres was contesting the point na they didn't allow him to be seen by medical experts. Sabi ni Torre, there were a lot of doctors there. Even the personal doctor of Duterte was there. They allowed them in.
And I also remember there was a reseta
Oo, yun na nga.
shown yung tumaas ang blood
Si
blood
Dr.
sugar ni
galing kay Dr. C
Oo.
na internist cardiologist ni Duterte, that his daughter Kitty was claiming na they're refusing to give him the urgent medical assistance because baka daw magka-DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis.
Yeah, that's
Doon pala
There you
sa plane, may kasamang dalawang doktor. Sa plane, may kasama pala siyang doktor doon. Doon sa Gulfstream na hanggang ngayon, di pa rin natin alam pala kung sinong may-ari, Pero chinarter daw. Yun ang isa sa yata sa press conference kanina, Office of the President na nagbayad for the charter jet.
And we also know it's not owned daw by Congressman
Saldico.
He already
who is
issued a
in Rome,
statement.
pero wala daw siya sa daig. Nandun daw siya sa Rome.
Nasa Rome siya. Okay.
Sa Rome daw siya.
Ano meron doon?
nakikibantay kay Pope Francis.
Baka ewan ko. Basta wala daw siya sa dahig. Ayan.
Yeah. He had to
Mukhang
issue...
dami mga taong papunta sa Hague. Ayan na yung bisita niyo.
He had to issue a statement kasi there were social media posts saying
Yes.
that it was
Yeah.
the plane, the Gulfstream was
Yeah.
owned by
Saldico.
Saldico. And
Although hanggang ngayon, di natin alam kung sino. Alam pa lang natin na OP paid for it. Yan ang sabi nila.
And Ami, I looked it up a couple of days ago. That same Gulfstream, that same tail number, was used by the president as late as January
Oo
this
nga.
year. I think for one of his official trips. Not lang abroad, pero locally lang. So
Tignan mo naman kung gaano kahirap malaman kung sino may-ari niyan. How many people have Gulfstream jets
Yeah.
in the Philippines?
Yeah.
Di ba?
But again, remember, this is the plane that President Marcos himself has taken. We were talking about it yesterday. So clearly, it belongs to someone high and powerful, right? That they can, redact the name of the owner from the official paperwork. Kasi nagamit na nga to. We were just talking about it yesterday. Right? President Marcos himself has used this specific Gulfstream on trips. Right? So
Nagtatrabaho mga anti-graft police natin. Bawal yung ganyang nagre-regalo, ha? Kahit tanungin niyo si Comelec Chief Garcia. Bawal yung ganyan na
Mali mo
nagpapahiram
binabayaran.
or ano. Sabi nga nila, binayaran nila. Pero sino nga yun? Bakit hindi natin malaman?
When they say chartered, you would assume that they're paying for it.
May bayad.
Whether there's a discount or not, and by how much, that's of course another
Yan
question
na nga,
altogether.
hindi ba? Paulit-ulit yung sinasabi ni Chairman Garcia, yung mga nagpapahiram ng eroplano, kailangan niyang i-declare
I-declare sa SOSE.
sa statements of sa SOSE Or kung ano naman, kung incumbent ka, bawal tumanggap under the law. Di ba?
We need to...
Yung Code of Conduct and
Oo.
Ethical Standards, bawal yung ganyang kamahal na regalo.
Ang tagal ng problema yun.
Ikaw naman. Mabuti na,
former
ubusan na yung
even
gobyerno
President
So
natin.
you're
Duterte,
saying we should just give up?
no,
Kasi
but,
matagal.
just to point it out, even President Duterte, when he was in his official speeches, he would I don't know if I should use the word brag, but he would say na ito sabi niya, di ba, niregaluhan sila
Yan na nga.
ng mga kotse tsaka ng mga lote ni Kibuloy. This was
Kaya
this
nga.
was an admission he made publicly when he was president, that his
Eh,
family
hindi nga
received all
nagtatrabaho
these
yung
all these
anti-graft,
things.
natin, anti-graft police.
And parang it was taken for granted, parang okay, so there.
Okay, gano'n lang, wala lang. Di ba?
Okay, so what do we do now? Well,
Kaya
it's
nga.
the Philippines.
The other thing that we learned from the palace press conference was he got a full meal daw on board the chartered plane. This was medyo na...
Yeah, meron
Oo.
mga photo eh. Oo.
So because si General Torre was asked, totoo ba na he was only given a sandwich for the entire trip, and he was saying, palagay ko they will take that back at some point because there are videos of him actually eating a full meal.
Yeah, iba-iba nga ulam ng mga picture eh. Oo.
And that he was the bigger point being he was treated
Used it
well. Right.
Well, if you're
It's a charter jet. It's a Gulfstream, right?
if you put him in a
Relative yung treated
C-130 or
well,
Huey,
kinidnap daw siya eh.
that's different
Kinidnap,
altogether.
yun nga.
Relatively, yan ang
Yeah.
sabi nila, kinidnap eh.
Pero-
Meron na nga alert ng Australia ha. Nag-issue ng alert ang Australia to its citizens in the Philippines na mag-ingat-ingat daw because of heightened risk of unrest. Dahil sa mga nangyayari ngayon.
Because there are
First country sila na nag-issue ng ganyan.
there are still calls for people to assemble at EDSA.
Yes.
Where, 'di ba? Hanggang ngayon.
I also want to ask you, kasi I wasn't able to watch the briefing kanina eh. All these reports of uniformed personnel supposedly resigning their positions because of what happened.
Deny na.
Yeah.
Anong pagkakasabi dun sa press con?
Denied.
Go ahead,
Ang
Abby.
mukhang totoo meron daw mga nagbabalak ng march from Mindanao to Manila. Siyempre magro-roro in between pero you get the point, no? Yun yung totoo yun. Na may ganong balak.
This is a civilian march.
Oo. Tapos, dahil nga sa dami ng fake news na pati ako, ginagawa kong verification, papailan daw ng kaso ng NBI yung mga nagkakalat ng fake news sa online. Yan.
Pero ano yung violation?
Fake news. Disinformation.
Ano ganun ba?
But you know,
Ewan ko. Malicious mischief. Ewan ko. May makukuha naman dyan.
In the revised penal code, there's an article that prohibits the spreading of false news. Is the word that the
Yes.
phrase that they use in the revised penal code. Although it's not really defined.
and then PNP
Hindi naman
chief.
sinabi ko anong technology. Basta nagkakalat ka ng fake news.
Okay.
PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fardo was asked about it, about may mga pictures daw circulating of some police officers na umiiyak after
Ayun,
he
yun.
was arrested. And she said that's not true because what actually happened was mainit. Of course, they're wearing full battle gear.
So it was sweat, basically.
Yun yung sabi niya, that they were resting because they had been standing for hours, mainit masyado, so they, umupo sila, they were wiping sweat off their faces or whatnot. Tapos yun daw yung picture that was taken to show that policemen were crying, and she said that's not true, that's fake news as well. That's what she said during the Palace press conference.
Hey, mga bok, let's bring in our first guest for today kasi I understand he's already online. Let's bring in our guest for today, University of St. LaSalle Bacolod College of Law Dean Ralph Sarmiento. Sir, magandang hapon and welcome to Storycon.
Magandang hapon.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon,
Professor.
Good afternoon po.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Of course, we want to ask you about the big debate right now over Article 59 of the Rome Statute. We're hearing all sides of the debate. But before we go to that, sir, I understand just today, nag-file naman ng the fourth petition with the Supreme Court, this time by Paulo Duterte, questioning yung pagkakaresto and I understand insisting that the former president be brought back home because illegal daw yung pagkakaresto and shortcuts that were taken. Is that still possible? He's no longer in Philippine jurisdiction. Can anybody, even the Supreme Court, the Philippine Supreme Court, can we reach over and pull him back in? Is there anything to look at there?
Legally po, that's no longer possible considering that the subject is no longer within Philippine jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of our Supreme Court is only limited within the Philippine jurisdiction or Philippine territory. So outside po, all its orders, rulings, or even judgments, wala na pong binding effect yun outside the Philippine jurisdiction.
Mhm. But can any Philippine court, whether it's the Supreme Court or the CA or one of the RTCs, can they sanction or find fault and then sanction government agencies for any violation of law in terms of the way that the sending off of the former president is concerned? For example, if there were any shortcuts taken, if there were any abuse of authority, and so on down the line. Meron bang ganon? Siyempre, iba pa ho yung kung pwedeng ibalik. Pero yung pwede bang patawan ng parusa kung meron bang pagkakamali? Iba pa ho sigurong usapan yun.
Yes po, may mga batas naman po tayo with respect to the conduct of arrest and of course yung mga respect for our constitutional rights. But of course po, that's a separate inquiry, and that will also involve individual liability, either administrative or criminal, of the persons responsible. Pero that will have no effect at all on the validity of the warrant or the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court.
Okay.
Dean Ralph,
Pero Professor,
go ahead, Amy.
Professor, pwedeng utusan ng Supreme Court kasi tinurn over si President Duterte with the consent of the Philippine government. Pwedeng sabihan ng Supreme Court ang Philippine government, bawiin niyo yung order niyo at pauwiin niyo yung tinurn over niyo sa Interpol. Pwede ba yon?
Kahit na po gawin ng Supreme Court po yun, and even if the Philippine government will issue such a request or an order, it no longer has legal standing with to make such a request, considering that number one, it's no longer a party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, and number two, the court has already acquired jurisdiction over the person of the accused, the former President Duterte in this particular case.
So, Dean, parang sarado na yung tindahan.
You can say that, of course, yeah.
Dean Ralph,
So kung sakasakaling gusto ng gobyerno to reacquire jurisdiction over former President Duterte, kailangan mag-file ng manifestation sa ICC. Ganun ba yon?
Pwede po, pero I don't think it will still be entertained because after the court acquires jurisdiction, the normal criminal proceeding will now be triggered. So it will begin with the confirmation of charges before the pretrial chamber, and then eventually, if the charges will be confirmed by the pretrial chamber, then it will go into a full-blown hearing or trial before the trial chamber of the International Criminal Court.
actually, Dean Ralph, that's why we invited you, because you wrote an FAQ that went viral on social media on what's going to happen from here on out. So I wonder if you could help us piece together your next steps here. So you already mentioned confirmation of charges hearing. Usually, how long does that take? Do we have any indication at this point mga kailan kaya mangyayari yun? We know it's in front of the same pre-trial chamber, but give us a sense of what you know about how it might take place, yung confirmation of charges hearing.
Depende po yun sa availability ng mga technically wala pa pong witnesses yun. The witnesses will be presented in the before the trial division or trial chamber. Sa confirmation of charges po, it will just be the office of the prosecutor. He will be presenting the charges, presenting the evidence. It's for the purpose of parang showing to the court or establishing to the court that there is sufficient evidence to hold the accused for trial, and that they have sufficient evidence in their possession or in their possession to establish the guilt of the person.
Is that the part where he enters an appeal, a plea?
A plea.
That's part po.
Okay, that's where he says, okay, guilty, not guilty.
Parang arraignment.
Oo.
Apo.
Yeah, okay. So confirmation of charges hearing, let's assume that he's going to plead not guilty at this point, because we already know that the defense is getting ready to challenge the jurisdiction. What happens from there?
Yung challenges to the jurisdiction po, including yung mga questions about admissibility and the compliance with the principle of complementarity, all those issues can also be raised before the pretrial chamber. And then, so the pretrial chamber usually will also come up with a separate decision on those particular issues.
Dean, if I can, sir, I'd like to back up a bit kasi si Yusek Claire Castro, the Palace Press Officer, earlier said that before the former president is brought to the ICC pretrial chamber, he will have to be brought before a Dutch court, specifically a Dutch court, to determine whether or not the requisites were met for his transfer from Philippine jurisdiction to the Netherlands. I'm assuming that it's a separate chamber or court altogether and not a part of the ICC. Kasi parang yun ang specific na binigit ni Attorney Castro, ni Yusek Castro. I'm wondering if that's part of the process or if this is something else that has to do with yun nga. Since we are not anymore party to the Rome Statute, is Dutch court now taking over the position of the custodial state?
Well, I cannot really, say something about that because under the Rome Statute and under the rules of procedure of the International Criminal Court, there is no mention of such thing.
Yes, sir.
And usually, what happens is that as soon as the accused is, turned over to the jurisdiction of the court, there are already processes, and all those processes will be taking place before the International Criminal Court.
Actually, while you were talking, Ed, we just got breaking news. We had a statement from Philippine Ambassador to the Netherlands,
Okay.
Eduardo Malaya, who confirmed to Philippine News Agency that Duterte will not be brought to any local Dutch court. Will not. So he says it will be proceedings before ICC all the way. There is no requirement for an arrested person to be brought before a Dutch local court under the Rome Statute. That is according to
that's clear.
Philippine Ambassador to the Netherlands, Eduardo Malaya. So it was Yusek Castro who was wrong in this instance.
Okay,
Oh.
at least that's clear. Sir, sorry sir, pero Filipinos, this is a first for Filipinos, and this is also a first for a Filipino sa ICC. Ang reference lang natin yung korte natin sa Pilipinas which is usually slow. Well, it's being kind here. But
Usually,
slow.
shit naman, ang bait-bait mo talaga.
And maraming delay, di ba? Mag-schedule ng vista next week or next month, tapos mapopostpone pa yan and so on down the line. How soon do you think we will see the former president in court, whether for confirmation of identity or confirmation of the cases or confirmation of whether he understands the cases and so on down the line? Kumbaga, how soon do you think we will see the former president in court?
I think it will happen in the next couple of weeks or couple of months, but it will happen soon. Kasi po, he also has a right to speedy trial.
Yes, sir.
And if there is an undue delay, that is not the fault of the accused in the course of the proceeding. That will also give the accused, in this case, former President Duterte, the right to, to request for interim release pending trial. So normally, the office of the prosecutor will also try to ensure that the proceeding there will be no undue delay in the proceedings.
Sir, couple of weeks or couple of
Professor
months?
Ano?
Ganun katagal, sir, before we see the former president in court? A couple of weeks to a couple of months? I mean, not next week, not Monday or Tuesday or anything like that. That's not probable.
It will all depend on the schedule of the court because you must also understand that there are also other pending
Yes, sir.
proceedings for the International Criminal Court. So the parties will meet and they will come together to agree on the scheduling and everything.
And get legal counsel accredited, for example, by the ICC.
Apo.
Professor, linawin ko lang kasi parang ang sinasabi ngayon ng mga tao, if kung ano man yung challenges ng Duterte camp sa jurisdiction ng ICC, doon na lang sila mag-argue imbes na sa Pilipinas.
Well,
Yun ba yun? Tama ba yun? Na wala nang magagawa rito
Opo, yung mga issues regarding jurisdiction, at this point in time po, it is now the International Criminal Court that has jurisdiction over
Yes.
things. So you can raise the issue on admissibility, yung issue on complementarity, jurisdiction. And normally, prior to the actual trial proceedings, normally they usually issue a separate decision on questions of jurisdiction.
Was
Admissibility of jurisdiction in particular.
Tapos dagdagan ko lang yung tanong ni Ed. Alam naman natin kung ano yung mga testimonies against him, yung mga witnesses. Sa tingin nyo, gaano katagal kaya aabutin yung formal trial? Considering all the challenges, all the circumstances, saka nagkaroon na naman ng mga previous cases eh. Sa tingin nyo, kayo, estimate nyo?
Based on history of the International Criminal Court, fastest was around 2 or 3 years. But normally, cases take around 8 or 8 years or even beyond 8 years.
Okay.
we were
Years.
talking about that yesterday. So it means
Yeah.
that he will be detained there that whole time. There is no option for bail. Dean Ralph, in your opinion, was the principle of complementarity sufficiently met in this case? Because yung complementarity principle, of course, says ICC should only step in when the national courts are unable or unwilling to prosecute the crimes in question. Was it sufficiently met?
Ang isa pong important word doon is genuinely prosecute. So it's a two-pronged statement po. It's either unwilling or unable. And if we put it in context, at the time prior to the withdrawal of the Philippines, and even after the withdrawal of the Philippines from the Rome Statute, when former President Duterte was still the president, he has uttered statements expressing the unwillingness of the Philippines to recognize the jurisdiction of the court with respect to these particular cases. And then when President Bongbong Marcos assumed office, the initial position or stand of the present administration was also not to recognize the jurisdiction of the court. And so that will show an unwillingness. And also, if you will check the 2023 decision of the Appeals Chamber with respect to the question on admissibility, pursuant to the request of the Philippine government for deferral, which was filed sometime in 2021, the Appeals Chamber po found that considering that no actual cases were filed against important personalities or crucial personalities on the war on drugs. And despite the fact that we have a law, we have the IHL law in place, where people in relation to allegations of violations of crimes against humanity, no actual cases were filed.
Yeah.
And so it's the reason why the International Criminal Court dismiss the challenges based on the question or based on the principle of complementarity and admissibility.
The 2023 case you're talking about is when the appeals chamber composed of 5 judges. What we heard about that was that the vote was split. 3 judges voted yes, there is jurisdiction over this case, and 2 judges voted no. So is that something that Duterte's side can then exploit, given that they're going to challenge the jurisdiction in this case, right? The fact that the judges themselves seem to be split, at least yung appeals chamber.
Opo, this is a contentious issue, no? So we need to watch and see what will happen in the future. Of course, the judges will be different, and this challenge, because previously yung challenge on admissibility and invoking the principle of complementarity was raised not by the accused former President Duterte, but it was raised by the Philippine government itself. And so the accused former President Duterte can now himself raise the question of admissibility and the question of respect to the principle of complementarity. So there's a possibility that depending on the composition of the court and depending on because there can be changes in opinion depending on the movement of thought with respect to international law. There's a possibility actually of a change in the ruling.
Sir, let me ask you about this, sir. Yung interim release of the accused, Well, I was reading Article 59 where it is mentioned. Ang hindi lang klaro sa akin if this refers to interim release of the accused before he is surrendered to the ICC or even while his case is being debated in the pre-trial phase. So, in other words, is bail in whatever form that you call it, is that going to still be, accessible? Is that it is still going to be accessible to former President Duterte at this point?
First, I must clarify that the interim release based on Article 59, which you mentioned, that actually applies at the arresting
Yes,
at
sir.
the arresting stage, and that can that can happen before the subject is turned over to the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. So there is a possibility of requesting for interim release at the pendency of those particular proceedings. Now, but even at during the proceedings before the International Criminal Court, the accused can actually also request for interim release pending the proceedings.
Okay. Pero sir, it says under urgent and exceptional circumstances. Would we know if this has ever been tested and tried and successfly applied for by any of the accused in previous cases before the ICC?
I haven't checked specifically with respect to this matter, but under the rules of the International Criminal Court, it is allowed, and there are several grounds wherein it can be used by the accused. Even for medical reasons, it can be used in cases of, for example, undue delay in the proceedings, which is caused by the accused. It may also be a ground to request for interim release pending proceedings.
Pero sir, for example, medical issues or even the issue of age, kasi of course you're looking at the president who's already
turning
going
80 this month. This month, yeah.
But then again, ICC is trying people who are of senior age because you're looking at leaders
Much
of
older.
countries. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, technically, age po is not a defense, and usually, yung facility po sa The Hague are very good facilities, and normally wala namang problem. For medical reasons, they can immediately provide for medical, any medical procedure. If ever that it will be required that medical, let's say certain medical treatment or medical procedure will be required outside of the facility, usually it will be under the supervision of the court. So normally this will be discretionary on the court and subject to the sound discretion of the court.
So, attorney, even if theoretically, pwede ang...
Pakilala mo po namin, attorney. That's Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit, who is, I think, on the road right now.
Yeah, sorry. No? Attorney, even if theoretically allowed ang bail, ay malaki ang possibility na i-deny siya dahil sa possibility ng flight risk siya. Especially with the support of China na binanatan yung ICC when he was arrested. No? So, di ba malaki ang probability na hindi siya, kahit mag-request siya ng bail within the rules ng ICC, ay malaki rin ang possibility na hindi i-grant sa kanya yon.
First po, I must clarify that there is no right to bail before the International Court.
Okay.
Iba po yung tawag natin doon, that's interim release pending proceedings. Kasi po when you say right to bail under domestic law, it is a constitutional right. So as long as the defense is bailable, so it becomes your right as long as you can post a cash bond, property bond, or surety bond, then it is your right to secure your provisional liberty. But in the International Criminal Court po, there is no such right. So it will be subject to the evaluation of the court. You may request for interim release pending proceedings. But as you have mentioned, yung risk of flight po, that's one big factor that is usually considered by the International Criminal Court in determining whether or not to grant a request for interim release pending proceedings.
So interim release ang tawag.
Opo.
But again, as you point out, it's not a right to bail in this instance.
Opo,
There's not a
it is
right
not
to
a right.
bail in this instance. Okay, we will have to leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Thank you, sir.
La Salle Bacolod College of Law Dean Ralph Sarmiento, thanks for joining Storycon.
Tama, Dean.
Thank you,
po.
Dean.
Thank you po.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news and the stories behind headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Regina Lay, and still with us, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Ronald Gliamas, our political pundit on the move.
On the move. Ronald, baba mo ng konti yung camera mo. Nakikita namin na umuho.
Hindi yan papunta sa Dahig, papunta yan sa Dagupan.
Hindi daw flattering yung angle, Ronald. Where are you? Pasok ka muna.
Ayan na, okay na.
Purgada na yun. Paano kung gumawa po pa?
Pwede naman, it's all relative,
Like
politics, it's all relative.
Sento na ako sa inner beauty.
Ayun lang.
Talking about beauty, let's go to a real beauty, okay? Let's go to our very own Gretchen Ho, host of Morning Matters, NASA, Netherlands. She moved to she moved over to the Netherlands from Rome.
That's a 17-hour trip.
Gretch, how are you? Ano meron dyan? Ano balita?
Beauty nga, pero nananakawan.
Gretchen, you have to unmute.
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 Tingnan mo,
Okay.
beauty nga. Hindi naman nakamute na.
Ayan na, okay na.
Game.
Wala.
Gretch, we can't hear you.
Audio, Gretchen, no audio.
Sayang, maganda sana.
Wala.
Okay,
Ayusin
sorry.
muna natin.
Audio
Okay.
issue, sorry. But anyway, she was standing right there outside the International Court of Justice ba yun?
Kasi
Sa peace.
it's a whole compound eh.
Oo.
It's Ronald to. Ronald, which
Ano yun?
which?
Peace Center ba
ICC
yun?
yan. ICC yan.
The ICC mismo. But diba, the ICC is
ayan.
compound eh. So which one is which? Which one is she standing in front of? What building is that?
Hanap ko lang.
The
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Ayan
can
na.
hear you.
Ayan na, okay.
Can you hear
Nag-phone na
me?
lang siya.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Hi.
Sorry, one man
Okay,
team.
ayan na.
From Rome, we're now here in the Netherlands in front of the penitentiary in Richting Haglanden or the Scheveningen prison where the former
Yes.
president is currently detained. Oo, talagang nilakad natin yan mula dun sa ICC building. It seems to be 1 kilometer away from the offices of the ICC. Unfortunately, we still can't find the gate that the former president entered last night. Malaki kasi ito. So mukhang nandun sa side. Nilalakad ko pa. Pero ito,
Ang malaking compound.
ito yung pinapasukan ng mga supplies at mukhang pati yung visitors dito rin dumadaan. Sa ngayon, malamig ang panahon dito, 3 degrees Celsius. So we're still yet to find out where if there are still Filipinos in front of the gate of the penitentiary. But in the meantime, we do know that the former president landed last night 5 p.m. Netherlands time, and 2 hours after that, he was admitted into this detention center. Attorney Claire Castro mentioned that he was supposed to be turned over to the jurisdiction of the ICC from the Netherlands kasi technically lumapag siya sa Rotterdam, which is territory of the Netherlands, and then after that he will be transferred into the custody of the ICC. But we don't know what happened in the middle of that, because now we're seeing that the ICC has declared that President Rodrigo Duterte is officially in ICC custody.
Okay.
Na-surrender na siya sa ICC. So, hindi natin sigurado kung na-skip yung buong proseso na daan mo na siya sa local court ng Netherlands bago siya ma-transition into ICC.
Well, the embassy says
we
that
have to get
they
more
skipped that
details
already.
on that.
Yeah, the embassy
Diba
says that
sabi
they
ni
skipped that already.
Ambassador Malaya, hindi na siya dadaan sa
Hindi na daw, oo.
Nag-skip na raw.
Hindi
Nag-skip na raw. So, dumiretso na nga.
Mukhang nag-skip na nga. Dumiretso na
Yes.
dito. At si Vice President Sara Duterte has said from her team that today they will spend the whole day talking to the lawyers and also trying to get in touch with the former president. The former president is entitled to visit inside the detention center. That is one of his liberties. The options that he has, of course, first and foremost, will be to try to request for an interim release, which is granted usually under rare
Exceptional
circumstances.
cases.
Posible siya actually na magkaroon ng interim release. That's under Article 60 of the Rome Statute. A suspect may request interim release before trial. Pero yun nga lang, no, napag-uusapan ninyo, narinig ko kanina, yun ay kung walang risk of flight, walang risk of interference with witnesses or evidence, or risk to victims or integrity of the proceedings. And if you take a look at the arrest warrant that was issued by the pretrial chamber, the reason why they issued that is because they could not believe that he could be summoned to the ICC to participate in the trial. And the second one was because there was a risk to the safety of the witnesses. So sa pagtingin natin, baka medyo malabo yan, pero that is one of the remedies that the Duterte's team could try to avail of. Pero ito nga, no, nag-post nga tayo ng mga itsura ng detention center sa loob. Sinasabi nga ng mga netizen, talagang napakaganda. Mas maganda pa raw sa condo sa Pilipinas kasi meron nga yung gym, merong sports center, tapos yung kwarto niya, makakalabas siya, he can be able to cook, he can use the computer although wala nga connection sa labas. There's a lot of activities that he can do inside to keep himself physically and mentally fit.
May massage?
Itatanong natin yan,
Swedish
ano?
massage.
Oo, pero para lang, no, may dagdag ako kaalaman para sa inyo. Ilalabas ko na yung isang VIP ko dito, si Attorney Gilbert Andres, who is the lawyer of victims of the extrajudicial killings. He is with us. That's why yung AirPods ko nagkakatopa kanina kasi nagsishare kami ng audio. Ayan.
Hi, Attorney.
Morning
Hey,
from
Attorney
The
Andres,
Hague.
good morning
Ayan,
po.
oo.
Attorney.
Attorney Andres,
Attorney,
Attorney,
medyo alam na natin.
can you give us can you
Medyo
give us a
alam na natin
timeline?
kung ano yung kung ano yung hihingiin nila Yan na nga, nabanggit na ni Gretchen, yung interim release. Ano yung, makakasagot ba kayo doon? Can you oppose it? Hindi siya marinig.
Gretchen, I think the audio is with you with your
Okay.
earpod. There you go. Magpalitan na lang kayo.
Pakiulit na lang.
Okay, good morning again from Den Haag.
Yes.
Morning,
Yes.
sir.
As victims, as lawyer for the victims, we'll try to see if we can actually intervene. But I want to state right now that we will actually strongly oppose it because there might be some security risks to the witnesses as well as to the victim families. So that's really our position right now in terms of security for the victim families.
Attorney, what do we expect to happen today? I understand it's 9 o'clock in the morning there, 9:58, 9:48 in the morning there. You have the whole day pa there, and then you have Friday pa before the weekend. What do we expect to happen as far as the former president is concerned there in Den Haag?
Well, I think maybe the person concerned will actually confer with his lawyer, and then they will try to meet up. But in terms of the pretrial chamber, I think the next step will be for the pretrial chamber to actually verify the identity of the suspect, because technically he's still the suspect right now, and to verify whether he understood the arrest warrant or understood the facts and the charges in the arrest warrant. And then there will be a reasonable time that will be given by the pretrial chamber to actually schedule a confirmation of charges. So this is where the prosecution will actually present its case and where the defense may choose to also present their evidence or their defense.
So
Attorney,
confirmation
who
of
will
identity first.
represent Digong? Who can represent Digong?
Well, I cannot really say that because I'm for the victims'
I mean,
families.
attorney, di ba dapat accredited sa ICC?
It should be someone who's accredited to the
Yeah,
ICC list of counsel, yes.
Yeah.
That
So
includes
for
Harry
now,
Roque.
ang malapit sa kanila si Harry Roque na accredited.
I think so, yes.
Pero paano yung ibang pwede silang tumulong. You need one accredited lawyer who will be working with the legal team. Kasi sinabi na ni BP Sara, she will be part of one legal team. I think they will have several legal teams. And si BP Sara, sabi niya, she will be part of one legal team. So they will be under one lawyer accredited with the ICC o kailangan lahat sila accredited? Paano ba yun?
Okay,
Galing nun.
let
Galing
me
nun.
just answer in the hypothetical. In
Okay.
fact,
Yes.
even for us, for the victims' families, there's a team. There's one accredited counsel and then one assistant to counsel, and there will be a case manager. So that is really the usual composition in a team, such as the victims group. So I think that's also applicable to any defense team in any case.
Attorney,
Ang
wonder,
lakas nun. Ang lakas nun kung kasama si Panelo at si Topacio.
but for yourself specifically, attorney, how many victims do you represent, and how strong do you think your case is?
Well, as of now, I cannot really state the exact number for security reasons. Also to, in accordance with the do nor harm policy. But I can tell you straight in the face that we have been there from the start of the war on drugs. We have actually been representing the Tokhang survivor. And in fact, we have appeared in the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals to actually question the constitutionality of the war on drugs, as well as for the granting of the privilege of the writ of amparo. And actually, we have the first ever privilege of the writ of amparo that was granted with respect to the war on drugs. That was in February of 2017.
Attorney, will there be several groups ng mga victims o lahat sila ay sama-sama na?
Consolidated, kumbaga.
Oh.
Well, to be very candid, I hope there will be a unified team with respect to the representation of the victims' families. And I really hope that it's really a Filipino lawyer. It will be Filipino lawyers who will be representing the victims' families as legal representative. You know why? Because the trial right now is before an international criminal tribunal, and for symbolic reasons, it's very important that it should be Filipino lawyers who should represent the Filipino family victims.
Pero for now, iba-ibang grupo yan.
Well, to be candid, yes, there are different groups, but we hope that there will be a unified team.
Attorney, last question for me, sir. The last question for me, sir.
Umulan na.
So,
Yes, it's actually raining right now.
So today
But
or
I
tomorrow,
hope these
sir?
are tears of joy
Sir,
for
so,
justice.
yes, sir.
Umulan na.
So, sir, kailan ihaharap si Pangulong Duterte dyan sa pretrial chamber? Today or tomorrow? Or kasi
Oh, we cannot-
the first step nga is confirmation of identity. When will that happen na? Will that happen tomorrow, you think?
We cannot really say. It's really up to the pretrial chamber 1. But I think what they are looking after are the immediate needs of the suspect
Okay.
in terms
The
of
logistical
his
issues.
health. And I think there will be a reasonable time that will be scheduled by the pretrial chamber.
Okay.
Okay.
Baka pwede na silungin muna natin sila kasi dumami si Gretchen.
Umuulan medyo.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry.
Sir, pakipasa kay Gretchen na, sir.
Okay, we've run
Thank you
out
very
of
much.
time.
Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you so much for your time. That was Attorney Gilbert Andres. Gretch.
Hello?
Yes, you have the last word, Gretch.
There you go. That was Attorney Gilbert Andres representing the victims of the EJK here at The Hague. Just a little bit more trivia about the penitentiary. This is actually shared jurisdiction between the ICC or the UN, United Nations, at the detention center, and also the government of Netherlands. So kaya pinagtagpi sa itong prison na to, meron ding Dutch prison. Tapos sa isang dulo din may castle yung itsura niya. Mukha rin siyang museum. May museum din siya. So, pwedeng pumasok-pasok dito yung mga bisita. We are actually in, what they say, the outskirts of The Hague, the old playground of the old Dutch counts. Kaya maganda rito. It's very beautiful. If the president does secure an interim release, if he succeeds on that, another option could be house arrest or an air tag that will be put on him. They could get his passport, but he can still go around the whole of Netherlands or kung saan naman yung bounds nun, But if he does get convicted, he will not actually stay here. This is a detention center. He will stay in an ICC host country that hosts prisoners. So there is a list of those countries. Pero matagal-tagal pa yan, kung sakasakaling matuloy ito sa conviction. Regina, we will go to the other side and check on our kababayans. Doon sila nagtitipon-tipon kung saan pumasok si former president. So that's it for now from this end, and we do hope to give you more updates right here from The Hague in Netherlands.
Thank you so much for
Maraming
that
salamat.
comprehensive report. Gretchen Ho
Thanks.
reporting
Gretchen Ho.
live from the Netherlands.
Parang
Tatanong
bagay
sana
lang,
yung
no?
spelling
AirTag.
ng Sibeligen.
Kaya, nagulat ako. It only takes an AirTag. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be one of those ankle braces. Yeah. Okay, sorry, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining Storycon today. I'm Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit, on the road right now. Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Gina Lei.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.